Alright, what's happening, y'all? The New York Giants have officially released cornerback James Bradberry. It was already reported that they probably would release him. They were looking for trade partners, but ultimately the goal was to save cap space. So James Bradberry is just a cap casualty. It's not like he's not one of the top corners in the NFL. It's not like he hasn't balled out for the Giants. It's not like he's out there covering literally the opposing team's #1 receiver all game, every game for the Giants, like he did with Carolina under Rivera and Marty Hurney. So it's not a matter of talent, production, or even expected production of the future. Remember, he's only 28 years old. It's not like a guy that they cut because even though he was really good, he may not be as good later on. It's none of that. It's literally just they need the cap space. He is a cap casualty. The Giants are saving somewhere over a little bit of $10 million cutting him, and now they're going to be struggling to find a cornerback that's going to be able to replace his value and his impact, but we'll see how that goes for them. But they're saving money. Should Washington save themselves from getting burnt by picking them up? We got to take a look at our current cap space situation. Can we actually afford them? Is it even smart to try to go after them? It's reported that we are expected to pursue them, and are we actually going to go through with it? And at the end of the day, I mean, we're going to talk about him as a talent, of course, and the money that may all fall behind it, and how our team is currently constructed, and why I feel like we should go get him, especially depending on what the price is. But another reason you want to make sure you go and get a free agent is so that another team, especially a division rival, doesn't. Because I think very highly of him. I'm probably a little bit higher on James Bradberry than most. And of course, there's the argument we just picked up William Jackson. We already picked up Kendall Fuller a couple of years ago. We have some top free agent corners. I mean, maybe not the top, but in their free agency cycles, those guys were top 3 respectively at corner, and they're being paid like it. I mean, maybe not top 3 money, but they're both getting paid significant money. So are we willing to pay another guy that much money? And is he even asking for that much money? Would he be willing to come play for us at a cheaper deal than he would any other team? Because first of all, he's already getting paid from the Giants, and also this Ron Rivera system is when he had his best years. Again, he balled out for the Giants, but he had his best years under Rivera. So he may be willing to take a pay cut to come play here, especially with an emerging secondary with a lot of talent. I think Percy Butler is going to ball out. I think very highly of him. I'm really excited about him. Of course, Cameron Curl, the other corners, and then this defensive line that when everybody's back healthy and getting pressure should make his job as a corner even easier. Plus, with Jack Del Rio's scheme, James Bradberry can play both zone and man, in my opinion. You can argue maybe William Jackson is probably the better man cover corner, but James Bradberry is definitely the better zone cover corner, and I feel like both guys excel at both. But if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably say James Bradberry is the most versatile. I feel like the gap between James Bradberry in zone coverage and William Jackson is larger than the gap between William Jackson and James Bradberry in man coverage, in my opinion. But man, I've already talked about him a little bit, but let's go ahead and dive into this intro. Before we get deep into this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, be on the lookout for all of the content. Like I keep saying, working on film sessions for all of the guys we brought in last weekend, including even some of the undrafted free agents. Even if I can't find actual tape on them, because I just don't have that super access that some people out there have, I will react to highlight tapes if I have to. We'll pause, we'll rewind, we'll watch things in slow motion and break everything down, including technique, all of that. Even if it has to be a highlight tape, and even for Percy Butler, like the East-West Shrine Bowl practices, whatever we gotta find, I'm gonna break it down as a film session. So man, make sure y'all go become a channel member so y'all can get access to all of them and not just a couple. And man, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's get it. Alright, so again, James Bradberry has been released by the Giants, but again, can we afford him? Because right now, the cap hits for Kendall Fuller and William Jackson combined for $25 million this year alone. We already spend the 4th most on corners out of any team in the NFL. That's without James Bradberry on the roster. But will he come super cheap? Like I already said, for the reasons I've already laid out before the intro, would he be willing to come here for cheap? First of all, again, just from the fact that he's still getting paid from the Giants. So maybe he's like, well, I'm already getting paid by the Giants this much, so this is how much I would really want, and I'll just take the difference from Washington which would be way cheaper, or really any team other than the Giants. And then, of course, he played his best years under Rivera. Again, he was really good for the Giants, but I definitely felt like he played his best. And so I'm pretty sure he trusts Rivera. He's confident in the fact that Rivera can have him balling out once again. I mean, the reason he got all of that money from the Giants was because of how well he played under Rivera. Again, it's not like even to me he took a step back. I think the Pro Football Focus grades are a little harsh on him as far as the past couple of years have gone that he's been for the Giants, but it's no deny he was one of the top corners in the NFL when he played in Carolina, again under Ron Rivera and Marty Hurney. Maybe he'd be willing to take a cheaper deal just to return to that level of play. We've already seen it from Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner. Those two guys under Rivera were Pro Bowlers, went to other teams, didn't look as good, and now, of course, the gap between how well Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner played for Rivera versus other teams is way larger than James Bradberry under Carolina and the Giants. But still, there's a noticeable difference in how all of those guys, including James Bradberry, played while under Rivera. We've already seen two of those guys, the guards, come and play for Rivera for extremely cheap, way cheaper than their talent and production says they should be getting. Maybe James Bradberry, you add him to the list. And of course, there's the talk of the fact that he's a former Panther. A lot of people see that as a bad thing. For me, it's a guy that would come in, know how Ron Rivera wants things ran. He knows the system, all of that type of stuff. It will be a seamless transition. He's the type of guy that if we sign him now, I don't think it'll take till like week 6 or week 8 for him to get acclimated to the defense. He's already played under Rivera. He's already playing in a heavy zone scheme similar to what Jack Del Rio runs here. I think James Bradberry will have a seamless transition going from the Giants to the Washington Commanders. If anything, he'll probably even be more comfortable here than he was for the Giants. So I'm not worried about him being a late pickup. First of all, I mean, the only thing that's happened so far is rookie minicamp, so it's not like he's missed out on anything for real. Maybe learning the playbook a little bit, but again, he's going back to playing under Rivera, defensive coordinator, and Jack Del Rio. But again, it's very similar system, very zone heavy to what Ron Rivera had in Carolina. And I just always feel like, I mean, what a lot of people say, again, some people look at it as a negative, but also on the positive side, if it's a former Panther, there's always a way. And again, I would not be surprised if he came here for cheaper than what another team may be offering for a little bit more, just because of how comfortable and how well he knows he plays under Rivera. Now, I'm not saying that he will sign here and that he will take a cheaper deal, but I definitely feel like it's a possibility, a strong possibility. And remember, this team was heavily pursuing him in free agency. He just chose the Giants because they were giving him more money. And now that he's already gotten a lot of that money from the Giants, again, maybe he'd be willing to take a little less money. But John Com also said that Washington does kind of want to see what they have first on roster before they go and sign free agents. But again, it was reported that they will pursue James Bradberry because I guess he's a special case. Now, us pursuing James Bradberry is not a report from John Com. John Com just specifically said that they kind of want to see what they have in the cornerback room before they go out there and get a veteran corner, because there's still a lot of veteran corners available. James Bradberry is one of the youngest, and I feel like definitely the best available as of today, now that he's officially been released. But the Washington Commanders have had a little interest in other veteran corners that are out there, but their strategy was, we'll wait, we'll see what a lot of these young guys look like if Benjamin St-Juste can come back healthy, and then if we don't feel comfortable with the cornerback room, maybe we'll sign one later, maybe like in training camp. But you got to remember, James Bradberry is a hot commodity right now, and so waiting until training camp, it may not last that long. He may be signed by today, by the end of this week, who knows. So if we want to jump on this, we need to jump on it fast. And we do got to watch out, there's competition. It's been reported by trustworthy sources that the Texans had a trade in place for James Bradberry, but it fell through due to contract issues, so maybe they weren't willing to pay him the amount of money that he wanted. You know, when you're trading for a guy, you better talk to him and be like, are you willing to take this much money? Or it may just be a certain situation where the Texans just couldn't clear up enough cap space to make it work. So, and maybe the Giants didn't want to eat any of the salary. They tried to get rid of all of it. I think it's more likely the latter, but who knows right now? I'm gonna have to see what's going on with the Texans and if they're a real threat to taking them away from us, because they just got Derek Stingley Jr. Like, chill out, y'all good. I mean, I know we have quite a bit of good corners, but dang, man. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of teams, a lot of Super Bowl contenders that really need a James Bradberry level corner. But hopefully we have an advantage over the Texans as a team that can win more games right now. But we'll see. But I definitely hope there isn't a team like the Rams or the Chiefs or somebody out there willing to pay him whatever he wants, because then it's going to get real ugly for us. Because again, he's already shown us that just because he really loves and respects Rivera does not mean he'll just choose Rivera over a better situation or more money. But I mean, I understand what the Giants are doing. They're basically in rebuild mode. They're giving Daniel Jones one last year. They built up the offensive line. They're doing everything they can to basically just isolate him as the only variable. If we don't win games, it's got to be you, because everything around you is really good, which I understand. But again, they're in rebuild mode, and having a top paid corner isn't technically the most necessary thing. You would love to have great corners, but paying a top corner top money as a rebuild doesn't necessarily align just yet. And I feel like even though we're not necessarily Super Bowl contenders, I mean, just with the way we've even drafted safe in the draft, we're trying to win now. It's not the Super Bowl win now, but it's the build on what we did last year with 7 wins and probably go out there and get 9 or 10 this year type of win now. Definitely not in full-blown rebuild, especially when you trade for Carson Wentz. I mean, he has the potential, he has a chance to be a franchise quarterback long-term, but as of right now, especially with them not even restructuring his contract to make it easier to go get a guy like James Bradberry, to go pay Terry McLaurin whatever money he wants, maybe like $25 million a year, you can easily do that by restructuring Carson Wentz's contract. But as of right now, they don't want to do that because they don't want to be tied to him beyond this year if he doesn't work out, whether it be due to terrible play and or injury. So as of right now, Carson Wentz is a win now move with some long-term potential, but right now he's clearly just a right now answer. I mean, with you taking Sam Howell in the 5th, granted that's not a high draft pick, but still, you're clearly showing, based on how Carson Wentz's contract is still set up and the fact that we took Sam Howell in the 5th, that this roster kind of looks like we're looking into the future. And, you know, we hope things work out long term, but we are trying to win games right now at a high priority. We're willing to give up future value for more present value. And again, just our roster wise, I mean, I've already talked about Kendall Fuller and William Jackson. Those are 2 really good corners. But after that, I mean, do we really have that much depth? Who knows if Christian Holmes will even make the team? Is Benjamin St-Juste healthy? Because that was like a weird concussion situation where he was out for like half a year. Like, is he going to come back ready to play? I really liked what I saw from him, but like, is he ready? Are we going to bring back somebody cheap like Terry Mclaurin, who currently is on the roster? Is Danny Johnson going to make the team? I mean, it's not like we're really deep at corner. We have 2 solid corners that we have as starters right now, but it's not like we just have guys coming off the bench that can just start for us and we're confident in their play. Benjamin St-Juste is not play. It's more so concussion for him, even though there's definitely areas for him to grow in. I just think getting James Bradberry, especially for a certain price, just makes too much sense for us. I'm pretty sure Ron Rivera and those guys would love to get him if he were willing to come here for an extremely cheap deal, but is he willing to? I wish we could just talk to James Bradberry right now and find out, because that's just going to determine everything. Pretty sure Ron Rivera and company have already tried to call James Bradberry and his agent already, probably even before he got released by the Giants. But we'll see, man. So just to let y'all know, as a current cap space update and whether or not we can afford James Bradberry or any other veteran that we may want, post-signing Trey Turner, and this doesn't include Alec Erickson, the punt returner, but I'm pretty sure he's not making much money, so we're just going to ignore his contract. We're somewhere over $9 million worth of cap space. But then when you include the rookies, that's going to take away about $4 million, which leaves us about $5 million. But post June 1st, after Landon Collins is officially cut from the team and creates almost $12 million worth of cap space, we technically have $7 million worth of cap space. Again, you can restructure Carson Wentz's contract and easily get somewhere around $20 million worth of cap space, potentially. At least 10 more if you really wanted to. But they don't want to put all of their eggs in one basket. They were willing to trade some mid-round picks, and one of them may even turn into a second this next coming draft for Carson Wentz. But they are not willing to be stuck with his money on the books. And I think their strategy is, when in doubt, at the worst case scenario, if we cannot pay Terry McLaurin long term this offseason, we'll just get him before the end of the year. They'll just do something with Carson Wentz's contract, cut him or whatever, and then go ahead and pay Terry McLaurin then, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, man, basically, we have $17 million worth of cap space as of June once Landon Collins officially comes off the books. And I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up bringing him back for very cheap, but we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, the main thing is, how are we going to pay Terry McLaurin long term? And I'm pretty sure if we don't end up getting James Bradberry, that's one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, that we didn't get him. And of course, I'm team sign Terry McLaurin long term. I really want James Bradberry, but signing Terry McLaurin long term is definitely the priority. But I definitely feel like we can achieve both if we really want to. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, the Washington Commanders head coach Ron Rivera wins the George Halas Award. Remember, Ron Rivera, who had cancer and made a full recovery a couple of seasons ago, has been selected as the 2022 George Halas Award recipient by the Professional Football Writers of America. The Halas Award is given to an NFL player, coach, or staff member who overcomes adversity to succeed. The award is named for Halas, a charter member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who was associated with the Chicago Bears. That's a connection to Ron Rivera in itself, even though that has nothing to do with this right here. And the NFL from their inception in the 1920 until his death in 1983 as an owner, manager, player, and promoter. Remember, Rivera, who has battled squamous cell carcinoma, is the fourth member of the Washington franchise to receive the honor from the PFWA, and the second in as many years, joining Billy Kilmer 1976, Pat Fisher 1978, and Alex Smith 2021. And other nominees included Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, Las Vegas defensive end Max Crosby, Philadelphia Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson, and Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. So again, this is not just players, this is not just coaches, it's everybody in one pool. So Ron Rivera ended up winning that award. I don't want to word it as he beat those other guys out, because it's really not a competition. I'm just happy for everybody that everybody's doing so well, including the other nominees for making the comebacks that they did and achieving success even through adversity. But I do appreciate the fact, and I am happy that Ron Rivera is the one that actually won the award, because I do feel like what he did that 2020 season, his first year being our head coach, was very underrated. I mean, the fact that he couldn't even stand, he was having to get IVs during halftime, he was struggling, man. That was a really rough season, and for us to end up making it to the playoffs with the terrible quarterback situation we had, I mean, man, he definitely deserved that award, for real. Even though he technically won it this year, I'm pretty sure that 2020 season was the majority of why he got it. And if it weren't for Alex Smith and everything he came back from, his crazy story, Ron Rivera probably would have won it that year, but Alex Smith just had a better case to win it last year for sure. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you want James Bradberry? How much money are you willing to sign him for? Do you want him enough to potentially hold out on paying Terry McLaurin long term, or is paying Terry McLaurin long term a priority for you, but you also want to find a way to get him as well, just like me? Let me know if you agree, disagree, all of it. I will be in the comment section. Don't get a chance to reply to every comment, but I try to read all of them when I can. So I really appreciate y'all, man. And of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. I know you learned something, so you gotta leave a like legally, you know what I'm saying? But also, I appreciate the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.